Welcome to Frax Check, your weekly Frax vibe check. I'm your host, Capital K, and I'm joined by my producer extraordinaire, Sam. Sam, how you doing?
I'm good. I'm really good.
Yes. And everybody, welcome to, I believe this is Frax Check number 37, if I'm not incorrect.
Hmm.
And thanks for so much for rocking with us. And as always, we're going to be checking the chain, going straight to the source of truth to give you that weekly dose of Frax data. But first, please smash that subscribe button. That really supports the channel. And feel free to like, comment, and drop us any one of your thoughts at Flywheel DeFi on Twitter and Telegram. And please also subscribe to our Substack, where Sam here has been producing an immensely valuable amount of content.
We
And
just
now,
released well, today's Monday when we're recording, but we just released our Ethereum Denver vlog, which is a lot of B-roll, some interviews with some cool founders, and some funny stuff with me and Dave. So also, hey Kit, I have a thing for you. Do you want me to save the surprise for Frac Checks for now or for later? Do you want to talk about it now, or do you want to talk about it during its relevant section?
let's just talk about it at the relevant section. If I
Okay,
think
okay,
I know what
okay.
you're saying.
Towards the end.
Yeah,
Towards the end.
yeah. Okay, towards the end. All right, cool. So let's always start with our flagship product here, which is the Frax stablecoin, obviously. So on the next slide,
On the next slide, yes. On the next one.
yes, that is that we are actually down 3.3% this week. We went from a billion 40 mil down to a billion, pretty much flat. So we don't like seeing that. And this is definitely the first time where we've seen Frax actually make a significant ish move for the past, shoot, I would say at least since like almost December, like, so this is a
Mhm.
fairly, we're getting literally right at the hairline of that 9-digit figure. And I kind of don't like it. We're going to get decomalarized. If you guys ever seen the show Silicon Valley. Ugh. So we definitely need to no keep on printing here. But anyways, let's check the peg here. We actually had one of the best pegs we had the whole time, where our low got to 0.998 and our high was at 1.001. So the peg is definitely in check. Everything's strong there. Even on the curve swap front, where we took 100 million frax and swapped it for USDC, and we received a 0.9987 exchange rate. Again, very strong pegs across the board here, both on the dashboard and in the markets. So aside from the supply going down, I think we have a very great number there. Now, the next slide, we'll see some fun numbers too. Our collateralization percent actually is reaching another all-time high at 94.8%, increase of 50 bips over last week. So this has been 2 weeks of increases back to back. Definitely like to see that. And on the decentralization percent, you see here that we actually dropped slightly by 50 bips down to 20.8%. So it's almost like this inverse relationship thing going on. As collat's going up, decent is going down. So
Yeah. So I just want to share something. We'll come back to the thing in a second. But there was a great user named Stable Scarab who has been posting some amazing content. Great picture, by the way.
mm,
And he had this very nice chart saying that did you see this? Where
no, I didn't get a chance to.
yeah, so he's been
Oh,
tracking the increase of the Frax collateral ratio, and he's projecting that it should be fully back to 100% by the 18th of June, which is not that far
oh,
away. And his kind of point that he comes to at the end of this is that once the CR hits 100, the all those profits that are being used to repurchase or like close the gap at the moment are going to go towards FXS and could be a driver for
mm.
the summer leg as well as all the FrxETH that we've been accumulating and Frax V3 as well too.
Are you saying this is a catalyst? Is that what I'm hearing?
It could be a catalyst, yeah. So,
Again,
back to our normally, scheduled program.
yes, but also remember, do your own research. Uh, I and Sam are definitely the most biased. So as always, do
Yes.
your own research.
Um,
All right. So that is going on with our flagship stablecoin product. Moving on to our liquidity as a service, I would say here is our Frax based pool. And here we have a TVL of 509 million, up 2%
hmm,
from the previous week. And then we take a look at the volume and utilization rate. Shout out to Stable Camel using his dashboard here, tracking the Frax BP volume. And we have actually printed 55, or rather facilitated $55 million worth of volume this month. And that is 11% of our TVL. Not too shabby, not too shabby. Definitely March was much better,
mhm.
right? Because of the whole USDC fiasco, but not too shabby. 10% is all right. So the most important ratio to check is, did we maintain our percent of three pool? And yes, yes, guys, we did. We are at 124% of three pool. We increased 2% from last week. And this is indeed, again, another all time high. We are definitely, dare I say, in a new regime where the base pool is the de facto source for liquidity on Curve. I think we are there.
Very nice. Yeah.
I think we are there. The only thing I'm questioning is like, how does this all change with Frax PP and also with Curve USD coming out soon? Soon, TM.
We need another chart, which is, so this is Frax BP percentage of three pool. We need Frax PP
Yes.
percentage of three pool now.
Yes, yes. I'll that will be added next week, everybody. So tune in. But anyways, for now, let's take a look at the three largest pools on Curve and see what's up. Here we have the three pool versus Frax BP, or rather Frax BP versus three pool versus Frax 3 CRV. Frax BP is at 509 million, three pools at 412, and Frax 3 CRV is at 291 million.
Mm,
So very clear, like, we're literally 100 mil apart for each of them. And it's kind of surprising to see that the Frax related pools are almost 2x that of a three pool, right? And obviously this is not our decks per se. So it's kind of awesome to see. Super awesome to see, actually. But anyways, let's move on to our IQ test. So for those that you guys don't know, IQ, they are currently having a staking, or rather locking mechanic, where you could lock your IQ from 1 week all the way up to 4 years. And as the longer you lock, such as locking it max for 4 years, would actually give you 4x your voting power. And this voting power thus decays linearly, just like how it does with, CRV. And then why would you want to stake? Well, on the next slide, you'll see that the staking APR currently is 128%. Here we see that there are only 176 HILQ holders. HILQ is simply the number of folks who are currently locking their IQ. So we definitely see space for more people to stake their IQ to start earning that 128%. You see here, Sam, the number of holders. Obviously, the main chain is EOS, but for Ethereum, there's 1,720. So only 10% of all the holders on Ethereum are in the IQ staking. And you must be on Ethereum to do the IQ staking. So you definitely need to bridge over. There are a ton of information in their documentation for you to get either acquire IQ and then bridge it over. So, but why would you do all this? Well, on the next slide, you want to do that because you get to control the IQ treasury. And the IQ treasury is currently at 15.6 million. And amongst its top holdings, more than a third, is actually FrxETH, and kind of love to see that. Kind of love to see that another DAO is using FrxETH as one of its core DAO holdings. And on top of that, they also hold Convex, which is at 1.8 million. So 12% of the treasuries in Convex and almost 10% in Frax. And they have 10% or 9%, 1.4 mil in their Frax IQ liquidity pair. So you could definitely get your IQ on chain and then head over to their staking page to, well, stake and start earning that native yield and taking and having some control over this treasury. Now, on the next slide, we go back to our regular programming with FrxETH. Here, Sam, we had another 6% growth at 169,146 FrxETH. That is a lovely number. Now, where are all the FrxETH hanging? Well, the SFrax, there 60% is in the SFraxETH, but that's actually a drop of 5% from last week. And where did that 5% kind of migrate to? It went to Curve LP, which increased to 31% week over the last week. And that represented a 7% bump. Now, the remaining, quote, monetary premium, as Sam K dubs it, we have 9% floating in the ether at all the many places that Traders Insight presented to us last Friday. If you guys missed that, go back and check it out in Frax and Review, where we looked at where all the Frax Ether is hanging. Well, they're not in the ether. Let me tell you that they're all earning mega uber yield. So go definitely check out that Frax and Review pod, but also check out the article for more in-depth look. But anyways, now as always, guys, FrxETH is still a stable coin. So with that, we got to check the peg. On the next slide, we'll see that the peg was at 0.9991 on the dashboards. And when you go into the market and you try to swap 3,500 FrxETH, you receive an exchange rate from Curve of 0.9990. This is the second week where the delta between the dashboard and the Curve market is pretty much the same. I've yet to see this. This is only the second time. And 2 weeks in a row we got to see this. So if you, for some reason, wanted to get out of FrxETH, you could definitely get out in size right now with pretty much no slippage. So that's pretty awesome in my opinion. And then Sam, I want to celebrate because on the next slide, we finally hit 2%.
2%.
2 round numbers, 2.00. We are at 2% of market share across the board. That is a 4% increase from last week. And to put another bow on it, our 30-day change is at 32%, and our 7-day change is at 8.6%. Funnily enough, our 7-day change is almost 2x or 1.5x that of Lido's 30-day change. Obviously, the numbers are extremely different. Lido is massive compared to Frax, but we're definitely making our way there, and we're chipping away Lido's market share slowly but surely, And our closest competitor, Rocket Pool, I would say, is also growing at a tremendous clip. So we got to give them a highlight too there. Their 30-day change is at 30%, and their 7-day change is almost at 11%. So they are also gunning it massively. And I think after this Chappelle withdrawals, all those everybody's flooding in, and it's kind of clear where they're choosing to park their capital. Any thoughts here, Sam?
Well, I think like it's still early, right? Because with the launch of FrxETH v2 in either maybe this quarter or next quarter, I think it's really going to change the dynamic of how people view FrxETH, and we're going to see bigger competition between Lido and ourselves. And I don't think the Rocket Pool questions are going to be happening anymore after that. We're still getting a lot of market share I mean, that's good. We're at 2% right now, but we still need to keep up that growth as we go forward.
1,000%, 1,000%. But in one area that we are already at the top, and that is in the yield department, we
Mhm.
have returned to the throne. We are at 6.55% for the native ETH staking yield, and we have almost 312 million in TVL now for
Mhm.
FrxETH. Phenomenal. And the runner up is actually with Anchor, with some Anchor ETH, and that was at 5.74%. Whereas on the bottom of the charts, we have Lido offering 4.6% and Rocket Pool offering 4.85%. So
Just
that
think of it like this, like,
mhm.
let's just assume you're buying FrxETH for, like, a 5-year period. Like, would you rather buy FrxETH that has a 5% APY, 5 or 6%, almost 6.5% yield, or would you rather buy US Treasuries that are doing a 5% yield? Maybe that's the new barbell strategy, right? 80% Treasuries, 20% stick FrxETH, and a little bit of Frax share.
Coming to a 401k near you.
Exactly. Exactly.
Oh man, that's so funny. That's the millennials
Uh,
401k right
no,
there.
but this is gonna be the thing that sells, FrexETH, right? You have a perpetual yield, which you're gonna get,
Yeah,
per like, in perpetuity, right? Like, it's
yeah,
just great.
yep, yep. No fuss, no muss either. All right. So on the next slide, we'll talk about Sam's favorite. That is the FPI. And
No
frankly,
cap
there's not
returns.
much to report since the last week,
Uh-huh.
but just for just because I haven't covered this in a bit, and just get everybody back on the same page. We have a current supply of 82.3 million, and we have annual inflation index of 5%, meaning the FPI stablecoin or the inflation pegged stablecoin needs to keep up with this 5% inflation index, and
Mhm.
currently is actually 5 bips above this inflation index, so it's doing more than needed. So let's take a look at the treasury value. How's it doing that? Oh, sorry,
Oops,
Sam, I was on the same
did I
slide.
skip ahead? Okay.
Yeah. Yes. And that's 88.7 million in terms of treasury TVL. And what is that comprised of? Well, 47% of that is actually in the convex FPI Frax, facilitating the liquidity. And as mentioned in previous Frax checks, during the Circle fiasco, the team had to move Frax and FPI out of the controller wallet into the convex FPI just to facilitate the liquidity during that crazy, crazy time. But now, since things are kind of settling in, the team has moved half practically back into the controller.
Hmm.
Now, there is this portion called equity for FPI, because when your assets exceeds your liability, remember the assets are the treasury value of the treasury value of FPI, and the liability is the amount that it needs to cover all of the FPI peg, and anything above that peg, all the rewards that's earned above it goes into this equity bucket. And that currently that equity bucket is 4.5 million. So that will go directly to VEFXS if this were to shut down tomorrow. Oh, VEFPIS. Apologies, correction there. But yes, now, moving on to one of the top products that Frax has, it's called Frax Lend, and we currently have a TVL of 192.5 million, and currently 50 million of that is being borrowed. So that's fairly healthy. We are definitely nowhere near where we were before that massive dip. Everybody, if you're not listening at home, there's this massive dip on March about 13th, March 10th. Clearly, that was the USDC Circle event, and we are still recovering. In terms of Frax supplied, we're definitely back, but in terms of collateral value, we're basically halfway from where we peaked previously. So that's not what we want to see, but we will get back there, everybody. Now, let's take a look at what are the best pairs on FraxLend on the next slide. You'll see that we have, again, the very tippity top, we have the FXS Frax pair, which is giving you 9.7% to supply, but with a tremendously high borrow cost of 15%. That's just kind of crazy. That's kind of crazy in my opinion. But we on the underneath that, you have CRV coming up very close behind at 9.6% with a borrow of almost 13%. So here's what we were talking about, where if you want to lend out your Frax and earn almost a consistent 9%, thank you to all the CRV whale borrowers, you could park it right here. And if you believe CRV is good enough collateral, I think this is a great pair for you. But I do want to highlight one thing on the FrxETH pair here, Sam, is that you're only paying 1.88% to borrow at FrxETH, and you're obviously earning 6.5%, or it's going to be way more than this number here. So for the past couple weeks, if you were to have done this, you would be definitely getting paid to borrow and have access to a good chunk of liquidity. I think the cap there is in the millions, so you could definitely come and borrow.
Can we're gonna, do you want to? We're at the surprise now, right? So
Yeah,
Seba
switch it.
came in and dropped some alpha in the chat that we cross posted on the Twitter Flywheel. He came in and said, "In case someone is bored," and then dropped a contract address. What do you think this is, Kit?
Oh man, I don't know. I don't
Well,
know.
it's a new Fraxlin pair, right? Oh,
Oh.
and I believe it's already been named. Did it? Oh, look, they did name it. They fixed the naming conventions, but it's FrxETH CRV. So it's going to be the CRV ETH FrxETH LP, which is going to be added.
Oh, snap.
Yeah. So if you look at the collateral, so if you come to the read side and you go to line number 17, the collateral contract, and you click on the address, it's the curve.fi ETH FrxETH curve. So they figured it out. They must have an oracle for it now, or some way to track it. And so now you'll be able to
Dang.
borrow against your
LP tokens.
LP. So now you'll have the ability to leverage with both stake FrxETH and the curve ETH FrxETH LP.
Wow,
You heard
that's
it here
awesome.
first. Thank you, Seb.
Breaking.
Breaking.
Thank you, Seba.
Thank you, Seb.
And thank you, Sam, for bringing this up right at the perfect time here. This is a huge, huge development. I think people have been trying to crack this curve LP situation for a long, long, long time. And I'm surprised they didn't do the convex LP. I know convex doesn't really give you an LP token, but maybe they could have done something. I mean,
maybe it comes later. Maybe this one probably needs to be done first, and maybe they do convex later. I
do
don't
some
know.
testing. Yeah, for sure, for sure. But anyways, that is extremely exciting to see Frax having developments on that front. More utility, way more utility. All right, so we're gonna talk about the last leg of the DeFi Trinity, and
Yeah,
that
keep going.
is
We're still
the
rolling.
Frax swap. And here we have our TVL got dropping so far for a
It's
couple
like
weeks
average. I
now.
mean, it's like, yeah, it's fine.
This is 66 million. It's not. It's dropped small. Like, it's been fluctuating between -1%, -2%, and then on the right hand side, or rather for those listening, we have a trading volume of 76 million for the last month.
Pretty good.
Okay, and that is 115% in volume facilitated and turnover
Nice.
for the Frax swap pool. I think that's crazy.
Nice.
For the decks that no one knows about is just facilitating 76 million in volume, like casually. Now, where's volume coming from? Well, on the next slide, you'll see that the top pair is FXS Frax, and that's to no surprise. Obviously, that's our native token, and it's been going about 11 to 15% every 7 days for the FXS and Frax pair. Like 11%, 11.5 is the lowest I've seen it since we started tracking it. It was 15% for like 3 weeks in a row. That's kind of how we got to that 75 number, or rather 77 number. But anyways, it's great to see here. And also, if you guys are able to spot, the IQ Frax is also on this chart. So if you didn't want to stake your IQ into the native locking, you can come here and provide LP into the IQ Frax and earn some yield on your IQ as well here. So just a little PSA. Now, on the next slide, we're going to talk about profitability. So switching gears a little bit here. And the very first stop on the profitability train is the AMO. So we have a total AMO size of 816 million, which is down 50 bips over last week. And where did this decrease come from? Well, it came from the liquidity and investor AMO, which decreased by 3.9 and 1.7 million respectively. So currently the stack is the curve AMO is 525 million, liquidity AMO is 73, lending is 85, and investor is 133. That's where we received our 816 million in our AMO treasury. Now, the next slide, you'll see what we're looking at for the AMO for April. Guys, we are in the green. We made 130K in profit in April.
Wow.
That came from, dude, this is the first time we're in the green since November, since
Yeah.
no
6
profit
months.
November.
Yeah.
Yeah, it took 6 months for us to come back into the green. So I'm super happy to see this. And where did that green come from? Well, our total revenue was 1.72 million, which comprised of 1.4 million in CRV, 180K in CVX, and 110K in FXS. On the other side, we have our expenses, which are mainly the bribes that we have to pay, and that is at 101.6 million for the month of April. Now, this is fortunate because the most recent voting and bribe payment fell on the 1st of May.
Today.
Yes, so we got to do some nice dancing there and got a green a green month, but hopefully May will turn out great as well too.
Yes.
But nonetheless, moving on to our FrxLand AMO. So we see here FrxLand has obviously the AMO is able to mint Frax and pair it against all the supply inside FrxLand. And the total minted amount of Frax is 65 million. But what's more important is to pay attention to the total lent, which is at 54.5 million. And this increased by 4.5 million since last week, because last week we only had 50 million.
Hmm.
So Frax is definitely one of the largest lenders in the FrxLand AMO for the people. So, and Frax, they can mint up to all the way 155 million, but obviously they're keeping a cap on it because they want to have more natural user generated, or rather user driven supplying and borrowing. So, but because right now we're still in the early stages, Frax is able to capture a lot of that FrxLand revenue. And for the month of April, we made 81K in terms of revenue from FrxLand. That is, about 21K a week.
That's
So
great.
that's great, phenomenal. Now, on the liquidation front, Sam, everybody was safe ever since last week.
Good job, guys.
Yes, everybody's been safe since last week. We only made 121 million, $121 rather,
Not even worth the gas.
121. Yeah,
Not even
not
worth
even
the
worth the gas. So this is good. I'm glad everybody was safe out there. So, and then lastly, we have the FPI monthly revenue, which is
It's time for the cap to come off.
amazing.
Time for the
It's
cap
a
to come off. Like,
God, dude, 182K in April revenue, and that is 243K in income, and then a 63K in expense. The only expense is to maintain the peg. So it's crazy. And now let's take a look in aggregate of how this all looks together for April.
oof.
And we actually printed 400K, 393,000 doll hairs
Wow.
is what we're able to pull here, right?
Wow.
130K from Convex, 81K from FrxLand, $121 from the liquidation, and then 182K from FPI. Now, yes, technically the FPI doesn't kind of belong here because that goes to FPIS versus
Mm,
FXS,
yeah,
but
20,
I'm
20,
just gonna group it all.
25%. Yeah, 25% goes to FXS holders. But still, like the protocol as a whole made $400,000 in the bear market.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, yes, yes. Across all of its products. So it's like it's clearly diversifying, right? It's clearly diversifying his revenue source, and I kind of love to see it. I haven't put in FrxETH on here either yet, too. So
Soon TM.
adding in FrxETH will soon TM will get a really nice picture. But
Oh yeah.
yes, guys, that is it for this week's Frax check. Sam, any thoughts? Closing comments?
Yeah, I mean, when we hit a million FrxETH, I mean, that's gonna be huge for profitability. Even 100,000 is still like, you know, it's $300 million, and we're getting like 0.7% of that, right? So,
Yeah,
when we start adding in the FrxETH stuff, it's going to be incredible. That's
and
it. That's
and
exactly
that's
like
in perpetuity.
it's in perpetuity. Like even like right now, we're getting $2.1 million a year from FrxETH in revenue.
Hmm.
So that's with 160 FrxETH. So just imagine when we get to like 1.5 million, right? And now we're pulling in $20 million a year. We'll be making $1 million a year in revenue from FrxETH.
Yeah, that's
Yeah, incredible. And then you think long term, like the FrxETH should get to around like 10 million. Um, that's $200 million a year coming back to Fracture.
do your own research.
I know, I
Sam
know.
and I are extremely biased.
But these numbers are going to look small in the future.
Yeah.
We're gonna look back on this and be like, oh wow, 400,000. We were actually like losing money at points.
Yes, yes. No profit November, just flip green. Let's see if we can continue that
Exactly.
trend. And
Uh,
if you
well,
always want to be,
based on it. So,
Mhm.
I mean, just looking at the Fraxy thing, like, you know, divided by 12. So, the Fraxy is pulling in $175,000 based on where
Mhm.
the price is right now. So, you
Mhm.
throw that on, we've got a half million dollars of profit for April.
My goodness, my goodness. I love you just love to see it. $500,000 in revenue in a bear market.
In a bear market, yeah.
In a
Uh,
bear market.
and
Oh,
the costs are minimal, right? Like,
yeah.
what are the fixed costs like outside of the bribes and stuff? Like the fixed costs are like the developer
Yeah.
costs. How much do they get
Yeah.
paid a month? It's like
I'm not sure. I'm not sure.
we
Um,
should figure that out. It's on DeFi Llama. DeFi Llama has like their
oh really?
they added this new thing, right? That talks about
Oh, I didn't know that.
teams, right? It's like team uh, something, but it like looks at all the major DeFi protocols, and then it figures out how much they're paying um, per full-time employee, right? So if Frax has what, like, I don't know, 8 full-time employees.
Yeah, I'm
Um,
looking. I don't see that. You gotta send that to me after the call here because I definitely want to
oh,
include that.
yeah, yeah. Look, I think the main thing to understand is that, Frax is like very, 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 what's it called? Lean, right?
Mhm, mhm.
And it's just going, right? I mean, it's really just chugging along. We're starting to become profitable. And oh, here, I found it. Well, let's open this up. And like, if you just assume that like Frax doesn't need to grow much bigger, uh, like expense wise, like I think the question for Frax is like, where do you spend money? Yeah. Um,
Mhm.
like if you're gonna allocate $10 million extra in like protocol expenses, how do you justify that, right? So I'm just going to spread this out a bit. So look at this. MakerDAO has 97 headcount, annual expenses of 26.545 million, and an average cost of $272,000 per full-time employee.
Wow.
Yeah, we should try to get Frax in here because I think this, like, Gearbox. I don't know what the Gearbox devs are doing. Like, Ivan, like, are you just paying your guys with like monopoly money? I don't know how you get like 13 full-time employees working for an average salary of like $70,000 a year. Makes no sense. Um, so, but you look like sushi's the outlier. Sushi has like the highest average cost per full-time employee at $347,000.
Wow.
I think they have a lot of contractors. That's not included here. But even Aave has like, where are we? We're like above. We're in between like Maple and Lido, right? So I think our expenses are probably like less than Maple and Sushi per year, right?
Yeah, I mean, there's no 8 of them, right? So even if they each got paid 200, it's like 1.6, right?
Yeah, yeah.
So
So yeah, we're super lean right now. This is on DeFi Llama's page. We'll include it in the links, and
yeah,
let's wrap it up.
yes, and to keep up with everything that is going on with Frax on chain and with the data, please smash that subscribe button so you can come back and check out our weekly vibe check. And also join the conversation at Flywheel DeFi on Twitter and Telegram. And as Sam mentioned, he's been cranking out a ton of valuable content on our Substack. So go to flywheeloutput.com and subscribe there as well.
Yeah.
And if you want to get in touch with me, you can follow me at 0xcapital_K.
Oh, and you can find me at traders_insight.
And we'll see you guys next week. Peace.